Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2023 Season 2 of Disney Plus slash Lucasfilm original spin-off sequel show, Bad Batch. So this started January 4th, 23. It just ended March 29th, 23, 16 episodes. So we have our core doing their adventures. We got Omega, we got Hunter, we got Echo, we got Tech, we got Wrecker. The five of them are doing their thing. They were dealing with treasure hunters and pirates and this mission and that mission, and then things happen. And so Echo goes off with Rex to go help some clones while the Senate is doing some hearing stuff, whether they consider the clones citizens, are they just property of the Empire because they were technically made on the expense of the Empire. What happens now that that war is over, but now the next war is beginning because there's insurrectionists happening with the Empire rising? What happens? Did the clones get benefits? Do they get a retirement plan? Are they just going to be arrested for dissension? Things, right? And then there's this new doctor in town who's working with the Empire, working with General Tarkin, who is dealing with experimenting on clones and doing research in regards to cloning because of the Emperor. We know that the Emperor is cloned, and we know that at the very last episode 9 of Star Wars, right? Which made absolutely no sense to us when we originally watched episode 9 because there was no lead up, there was no nothing. It was just a reveal that the big bad was the clone of Emperor Palpatine the entire time. We're like, bro, how does this make sense? This series explores how this makes sense, explores the transition between clone troopers and stormtroopers, the literal transition between the two, how the stormtrooper is an enlistment agency and the clones are being phased out so that way they can stay with the newer blood, so that way they can stay with those who are not questioning orders anymore, because now that clones are not needed, quote unquote, they're questioning the orders. And how dare a soldier not follow orders? So we see the transition between clone trooper to stormtrooper. We see the interest in cloning be explored further because of the Emperor. Specifically says the Emperor's project. And it all ties in to then the big reveal of episode 9. It's just unfortunate that episode 9 didn't have that lead up. It didn't have that celebrated lead up. It was just randomly thrown in there at some point. And you're like, how does this make any sense? Now that we're getting some information all these years later, it's starting to make sense. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't brought upon us properly. It was thrown at us, and we were supposed to celebrate it. But because it was thrown at us, we were like, how does this make any sense to the canon that was given to us? And it didn't make sense. But now that we have Season 2 of Bad Batch, Episode 9, Star Wars Episode 9, now makes sense. So it's just so funny how this all comes together all these years later. Saul Guerrera's in this. We have Senator Organa in this. A lot of fan favorites keep popping up here and there within this, and it's nice seeing that. So with Rex and Echo trying to save clones, Crosshair has a whole massive episode, which is just so... I still have chills watching this episode with him and this clone Mayday, who are, trapped in an avalanche and then are just thrown to the wayside by this new commander, who then Crosshair then kills, because how dare he neglect the clones, because he's all for the stormtrooper, and they're supposed to be protecting the stormtrooper armor the entire time? Bro, mind-blowing. But then Crosshair's then experimented on, and he starts to question, well, we're not supposed to just follow orders anymore when we are living. We're not just machines. That's the point of the droid. And Cody dissents as well. Commander Cody is in this, and he refuses to kill a senator. Governor? He refuses to kill a governor on behalf of the Empire, and then he dissents. So he says that, the difference between droids and clones is that we realize what's wrong. And this is wrong. Too much blood has been shed already. Why are we still doing this? The war is over. But the war is not over because, well, that one war ended, but the next one started. So it's just insane. So this new doctor experimenting, this new doctor getting information. Nala Se is still alive. She was kept alive when all other majority of Kaminoans were killed. So trying to get information. Sid betraying them. Echo perishing. That was a hard Plan 99, man. That last episode was just... And You know when it's coming. Like the music stops and there's no audio, and you just see the fall, and you're like the chills, the dramatic. It's just still, I still have goosebumps. It's just, you see, I still have goosebumps just thinking about it, watching it. It's so well done and it's so well executed. And now that Omega's in this doctor's care, right now with Crosshair, revealed that the other scientist is her sister as well, and you're like, bro, how did this happen? Now it's a matter of the remaining Clone Force 99, Echo, Wrecker, and Hunter. Will they now be exploring the galaxy to find Omega? And when they find Omega, what happens next? Bad Batch Season 3 wasn't announced. It's most likely going to be announced come May during Star Wars Day. There's always an event on Star Wars Day, May 4th. So we'll see what happens with that news. This is a series that deserves a proper ending. I hope they don't just cancel it one day because of how much explanation on cloning experiments for Emperor Palpatine's sake leading into episode 9. There's so much more information that can be explored, making more sense as to Star Wars 7, 8, and 9. I really hope we don't just diminish that. And the other interesting thing is this was airing the same time that Mandalorian was airing new episodes for season 3. So it's two different timelines. It's the same canon, but this is right at the transition. Bad Batch is right at the transition when the Clone Wars ended and the Empire started to take control. And Mandalorian is when the Empire ended and the New Republic is starting to go through, right? So it was very confusing in the certain weeks that it was that they had both new episodes, because you're watching it, you're like, yeah, and then you're watching it and you're like, wait, this happened like 40 years before Mandalorian. So like you had to get back in that mindset. So getting back in the mindset, it works. It's not 40 years, 20 years, 30 years. I used to know the math. I got to look this up again. The timeline is long. Timeline is massive. Timeline is long, but it all comes together. So here we are, season 2 of Bad Batch, getting answers and explanations in regards to Star Wars Episode 9. I just still can't believe it. I still can't believe it, bro. It's so funny how these things happen, and they happen. They happen. Awesome season. Cannot wait for the inevitable season 3. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.